Good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be. Please allow me to welcome you back to another episode of Dad Can We Talk. As always, I am your host, Gabe Dorsey. Happy to see you back here on another Tuesday. Happy that you're still tuning in, that you're still joining me on this journey. I'm just grateful for everybody that watches. I'm grateful for everybody that tunes in. I can't tell you how much I appreciate it, how much I look forward to getting on every Tuesday and doing this. I appreciate it so much, man. Before we get started, I just want to take the time to remind you that Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays, Saturdays, sorry about that. I don't know what happened. This has happened at least once an episode, and I don't know what happened. I don't know what's happening, but it's all good. As I was saying, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays, Saturdays, and Sundays, you can tune into Virtuous streams for more programming besides myself. On Wednesdays, we have my aunt who does Fruit Talks with Kim. On Thursdays, we have the CEO of Virtuous Streams, Apostle Mildred Dorsey, who does From the Desk of the Apostles. Saturday mornings, we have Kanika Dorsey, my other aunt, who does resiliency and recovery, the comeback. And finally, on Sundays, as he would say, we have the word with Reem at 5 o'clock in the evening. So if you want more from Virtuous Streams besides what I'm saying, I highly encourage you Wednesdays, Thursdays, Saturdays, and Sundays for more teaching. You will be blessed. You will benefit from it. It's good stuff all across the board. I wouldn't lie to you. It's good stuff all across the board. With that said, let's get to it. Now, if you remember on last week, I talked about how important it is to love yourself, how important it is that you value yourself in any relationship, whether that be a friendship or an intimate relationship. And even so far as, family, you have to value yourself. In the equation, you are the most important variable, right? And I talked about I gave you some of my story about what would happen if you didn't love yourself and the things that I went through and how important it is to know when it's time, when you have to put yourself first, right? So with that said, what I wanted to talk about on today was knowing when it is time to let go. Knowing when it is time to let go. On Saturday, my aunt, Kanika, she talked about knowing when things have an expiration date in your life, knowing when, it's time to let that job or to let that friendship or to let that person go. And I'm a piggyback off her a little bit because I want to let you know that it's important to know when to let go. When things get, and I know this is a word people throw around a lot, they don't really have any meaning behind it or have any, people just learn new terms and they start, they going berserk with it and they start labeling everything one thing. But in all seriousness, when things get toxic, when things get you feel stuck, you feel trapped in a situation or in a relationship, it's time to go. It's time to go. Like, and something that I've heard said a lot, something that I've heard, spoken about a lot is manipulation, right? Because manipulation is, and I know y'all probably already know this, but I'm gonna say it anyway. Manipulation is when people apologize, but they don't change their behaviors, right? An apology sounds good. It all sounds great. It's, I won't do this no more. I won't hurt your feelings no more. I won't do this, that, and the third anymore. And that all sounds well and good, but then they do it again. And they come back and they apologize, and the apologies, it's the bells and whistles, and they might shed a few tears, and they might, they give you the whole act and the whole works, and then they do it again. And they do, and this is a pattern that you begin to fall into because, again, do you love yourself enough? Right? That was what I was talking about on last week, and I'm still talking about it this week because it all comes back to the same thing. Do you love yourself enough? Because if you don't love yourself, you're going to allow yourself to keep being manipulated. And I get it. Believe me, I get it. I got a big heart, and I want to give people the benefit of the doubt, and I want to give people that I love, I want to give them chance after chance after chance because I got faith in people, and I want to believe that people are going to do right by me. But when somebody continuously disrespects you, continuously does the thing, you can sit down and, as my dad would say, I could talk till I'm blue in the face. I could scream, I could yell, I could holler, I could cry, I could tell you how this is hurting me. But ultimately, if that person decides not to change, there's nothing you can do about that. You can't change folks. You can't change anybody. You can't fix nobody. You can't change nobody. That's not on you. And a lot of times, and I wouldn't talk about nothing I'm not guilty of, nothing that I haven't done, nothing that I haven't been through. A lot of times, what we end up doing is thinking it's our responsibility to fix people, and it's not. That's not on you to fix somebody or get somebody to see the error of their ways. That's not on you to change somebody or to be that person. That's and men and women do the same thing. It's not just women that do the whole, well, I can fix him and I can. You can't change somebody that don't want to change. But here's the catch. Here's the flip side of the coin. And I'm going to be real. If I do nothing else, I'm going to be real. The more you allow people to get away with, the more they will push the envelope. You've all heard the saying, they taking it. You give them an inch, they take a mile. That's what's going to keep happening. Pardon me for a second. But that's what's going to keep happening. The more you let somebody know, like, it's okay to disrespect me, it's okay to lie to me, it's okay to mistreat me, it's okay to, the more they're going to do it. The more it's going to keep happening. Again, do you love yourself? Do you love yourself enough to say to this person, whoever it might be, friends, family, girlfriend, boyfriend, whoever it is, whoever it might be, I'm not going to allow you to continue to put me through this. Because you can love on somebody all you want. You can be there for people. I've had people of their own volition who told me, when I was at my lowest, Gabe, and it was just you in my corner. And them same people still turned around and did me greasy. So there's nothing you can do to get somebody to change. You have to learn to walk away. You have to love yourself enough to say, I'm going to walk away. Because be told, what? Why stay? Why? Why keep putting you through that? Because again, if you keep going back to somebody who's doing you wrong, you can't tell me you love yourself. You don't. I love myself. But you with the same person You in the same friendship, you hang out with the same people that have shown you time and time again that they don't care about you. Because again, I know it's a word that people throw around nowadays, but it's in this instance, it's true. That's a toxic situation. That's a what's the word I'm looking for? I can't think of it right now. But that's harmful to you to keep putting yourself through something that's just, you know what the result is going to be. You keep giving that person chance after chance after chance. And by the third time, fool me one time, shame on me. Fool me twice, shame on you. Fool me. You shouldn't have to get to the third time. You should not have to get to the third time to see that this person obviously does not care. They don't care. You never want to find yourself in a space where you start to resent the person you're dealing with. And I mean, really, really resent them. Because it's not them, it is them you're angry with to a degree. But see, you really can't ignore when in your heart of hearts you know something isn't right. You really can't keep ignoring when you know something isn't right. And what you find yourself to do, what you find yourself doing is resenting the person you're with because you're upset you haven't walked away yet. You're still waiting on them to change. You're still waiting on things to get better. And they've already shown you things are not going to get better. I'm not going to change. And so now you are holding on to everything they've done, and you're still trying to convince yourself, right? You're still hanging around. You're still trying to convince yourself that things will get better, but you can't let go of what they've done. So now the situation is really toxic. It's festering now. It's bubbling up inside you now to the point where you're angry all the time. You taking it out on everybody else but the person it needs to be taken out on. You flashing out on everybody else but the person that deserves it. Because you know in your heart of hearts that you have no business continuing to be in this situation. You know, when you got to start lying about where you've been at and what you're doing because you don't want that person to get angry or upset with you or be, you don't want them to be, I don't want to argue with them today. When you start making excuses for their behavior, right? When you start, I'm about to hurt y'all feelings. I'm about to step on some toes. When you start putting that person above yourself, ignoring the things that you need, when you start sacrificing the relationships that really mean something to you, right? Like when you start really, like you ain't called your mom in weeks, you ain't talked to your dad, you ain't talked to nobody in your family know what's going on with you. They don't know how you doing. You're not taking care of yourself. When you doing all of that and you constantly stressed, this person got you constantly stressing, it is time to go. It's time to walk away. It's time to let that be because all of that is unhealthy. But I know how we get. I know how we get. I've seen it. I've lived it. I've been through. I've seen it. Man, it's just y'all don't know what y'all talking about. Cause see, people come and try to talk to you, right? People come and try to, hey man, you know that girl no good for you. Or you know that dude's no good for you. You know he's not. Look at what they're doing to you. Look, and we so hell bent on trying to prove that we made the right decision or that we chose the right person, that we tell everybody else they don't know what we're talking about. But you know deep down they're right. You don't want to admit it. You don't want to say they're right. Listen, whether you watching this live or you watching this later, I've offended somebody. I have made somebody mad, and I'm gonna be okay with that. I'm gonna sleep fine at night. I promise you. But all I'm saying to you today is that in a healthy relationship, you shouldn't have those problems. You should be able to communicate without having to watch what you say, or I don't want to hurt their feelings, or I don't you're not even telling the truth to yourself. You're so busy trying to make this thing work. You want it to work so badly. You're not even being honest with yourself. To thine own self be true. I wasn't being true to myself, and I knew that. I knew every time I kept going back to this particular young lady, I knew I wasn't being true to myself. I knew every time. But because I was so focused on thinking that this could work and I could do this, and you can't change nobody. It's not your job to fix nobody. It's not your job to try and play somebody's therapist. That's not what you're there for. And then I'm gonna take it a step further for you. I'm being honest. You cannot make anybody happy that don't want to be happy. It is one of the most damaging things you can do to yourself, to try and make yourself responsible for somebody else's happiness. You can't make nobody. You want to have all of that on you? You want to put all of that on your shoulders? If that person not happy, they just not happy. Because what happens when you mess up and now they unhappy? How are you gonna feel? Now they unhappy with you. They was just telling you, oh, you're the only good thing in my life, and Jesus, I'm telling on myself. Woo! They was just telling you that you're the only good thing to happen in their life, and they so happy to have you. And then the minute you mess up, you don't even know. I didn't even know I messed up. I didn't. I don't even know I messed up. But the minute you mess up, you are lower than dirt, and you done messed everything up because you wanted to be responsible for their happiness. You put all that weight on yourself. Don't do that to yourself. Don't do that to yourself. You can't be responsible for somebody else's happiness. Only person you can make happy is you. I'm not saying you can't share happiness with somebody. Don't get me wrong. You absolutely can. Y'all can share y'all collective happiness with each other, but you can't be the sole like you can't be solely responsible for why somebody's happy. That's unfair to you. Because then what ends up happening is when you're upset, you can't even be upset. They need you to be happy so they could be happy. You can't feel everything else you feel. You could be having a bad day, but then as soon as that person sees you, they want you to be happy. So now you forcing happiness. Now you faking it. You faking the funk. You have to love yourself. You have to love yourself enough to know these things. You have to love yourself enough to know that when it is time to walk away from these toxic situations, I could have saved myself a lot of heartache, a lot of headache, a lot of money. I could have saved myself a lot of money if I had just walked away from a relationship that was damaging me more than it was helping me. Now, married couples, that's a whole different ballgame. That's a whole different situation. I will say that you should probably know who the person you marrying is before you marry them. That much I will say. Because the pandemic happened, and a lot of people was getting divorced, and then because a lot of y'all found out that y'all don't even like, much less know, but y'all don't even like the person y'all married to. Y'all don't, you don't know this person. You done spent umpteen years married together. Y'all ain't spent no time together, and y'all been sitting in the house the whole pandemic. Come to find out, I don't even like this man. I don't like this woman. So what I will say, I'm not married, is you should probably really get to know the person that you call yourself wanting to marry before you get married. Because if you get married in a toxic situation, your whole marriage gonna be toxic. The whole thing just gonna be a mess. And there's nothing, man. I wouldn't wish that on anybody to be married to somebody you don't like. Could you imagine? I don't know about y'all, but I refuse to live in a house where I don't like somebody. That's out of the question for me. I can't speak for the rest of y'all, but that is out of the question for yours truly. I say all that to say it is important to know when it is time to let go of things. A lot of us try to force something that is not for us. Don't get stuck in something that's not for you. Why would you want to miss out on the best of what God has for you for right now? Why? Don't miss out on what God has for you for something temporary. You missing out on Mr. Right for Mr. Right now. You missing out on Mrs. Right for Mrs. Right now. And you, why would you not want the best of what God has for you? Why shortchange yourself and settle for something that's not meant for you? We hard-headed. I know we hard-headed and we don't listen, and we want things when we want it. But the wait is well worth it. I promise you that. The wait is well worth it, because what you think you want is nothing compared to what's actually waiting for you. What you think look good from across the club in the tight dress with the heels on and the makeup right is way, 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 way worse than what's actually waiting for you. What you think look good from across the club with the chain on and the fresh forces is way, way, way worse than what is actually waiting for you. Don't shortchange yourself, man. Don't settle for anything less than the best of what God has for you. So when it is time to let go of that toxic stuff, and when it is time when you know that this relationship cannot be saved, walk away. Love yourself enough to walk away. That's it. Love yourself enough to walk away. Don't trap yourself in a situation where you're unhappy. You gotta fake the funk. You gotta fake what it is. Walk away. Don't settle. Don't settle for less than what God has for you. Thank you all for tuning in today. I hope that you were blessed. I hope that didn't run nobody off. I hope that you will join me back here next Tuesday at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for more Dad Can We Talk. As always, I'm your host, Gabe Dorsey. Hope to see you next week. Be blessed.